Today, I am talking about the Biden student loan forgiveness plan. I will also share plans that are in the works or possibly in the works. And lastly, I will share some warning signs of possible ripoff scams perpetuated by online schools. Hello and welcome or welcome back to Sev Talks Money. This is a place where we talk all things money and share tools, tips, and strategies that lead to financial freedom. So again, I'm talking about the President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness plan that have already been put in place, things that are being considered right now, and then also some warning signs for those of you who are considering online schools, some warning signs to look for that this school could potentially be a scam. So first I want to talk about the $1 billion that has already been forgiven in student loans. And this is part of the America Rescue Plan. What this includes is 72,000 borrowers who were defrauded by for-profit schools. If you remember ITT Tech, that's one of the schools. And some of the things that caused these students, the 72,000, to fall into this category is what's called borrower's defense. And I'm going to share what that is in a little bit. So those 72,000 borrowers automatically qualify for this $1 billion in student loan forgiveness because they were defrauded by for-profit schools. The schools misled them, gave them inflated graduation rates, told them the college rankings were higher than they were. They inflated their job placement rates. They inflated how much graduates could make when they graduated from their programs. And then of course, a lot of these schools have closed permanently. So the 72,000 students automatically qualify for this $1 billion in student loans. And remember, the federal government has a list of the schools you've gone to. They know how much you owe. So these students, of course, automatically qualify because of borrower defense. Now, what is borrower defense? Let's take a look at what the federal government terms borrower defense. It's a federal law that allows students full student loan forgiveness if their college closes or engage in fraudulent activities. And of course, fraudulent activities, like I explained before, is where they're inflating their numbers in different ways, inflating their graduation rates, inflating how much students could make when they graduated from the school. So that's borrower's defense. So if you or you don't know somebody qualify under this program where their school closed permanently, the college inflated their numbers, then please encourage them to apply, because not only are the 72,000 students qualified, but there is another program where they can apply. And for this program, typically they would have to show that they were defrauded. They would have to show that they were defrauded, but the plan has been put in place where they don't have to show that they were defrauded, but they have to show how that their money, their earnings or their earning potential was harmed by going to this school. So they can still apply under borrower's defense, even if they didn't fit into the 72,000 students who qualified for the $1 billion. So again, there's the 72,000 that qualify for the $1 billion because of these schools that have closed and that they're known to have inflated their different matrices. If you felt that you were defrauded or your school gave you assurances that were not true, and you are finding that because you went to this school, you are not making enough money, you can still apply under borrower's defense. You have to go ahead and complete your application. You have to prove monetary harm, meaning that, and what they will do is they will compare your earnings to earnings of similar programs of other schools. So if you, let's say you graduated, you're making $50,000, and other schools, graduates from other schools in your field are making about maybe 100,000, then you could possibly qualify for borrower defense because you have been harmed monetarily by going to this school, and now you can't make what you wanted, what your degree says you should make, because you are, qualified for borrower's defense. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. All right, another thing that was part of the American Rescue Plan is that any forgiveness of loans is now tax-free. Prior to this, for any of the income-driven repayment plans or any of the other plans, if your loans were forgiven, that amount would be considered taxable income to you, and you would pay taxes on it. So if you qualify under any of these plans going forward through December 31st of 2025, you have 4 more years or 4.5 more years to pay off your loans. And if you are now using, let's say, the income-driven repayment plan right now, if you're using that, where after 20 years and you make, your payments consistently, and I have videos that I'm going to link here that talks about how you qualify for the loan forgiveness after you've been in the income-driven repayment plan, the period that you need to be in, and all of that. I'm going to tag those videos afterwards. But if you are in the income-driven repayment plan, for example, or any of the public service loan forgiveness plans, after you have gone and you made the number of payments and the number of periods passed, you would have to pay taxes on that, for that amount that was forgiven. With the American Rescue Plan, any amount that's forgiven through December 31st of 2025 is tax-free to you. It is a bonus because now you don't have to pay any taxes on that money. So if you have a plan right now, if you don't qualify for any of the special programs where you are defrauded, you're in the 72,000, and I'm going to talk about another program where 1.3 billion was forgiven. If you don't qualify for any of those, consider paying off your loans or paying the number of payments that you should pay under the income-driven repayment plan or the public service plan or any of the other ones. There are several loan forgiveness plans. There's several. So if you qualify for any of those and you're making your payments, be consistent, do what you need to do, because if you've made the amount of payments through December of 2025, you do not have to pay taxes on that forgiven portion of your loan. So that is really a big bonus for people who have huge loans, like doctors. There are programs, forgiveness loan programs for doctors, forgiveness loan program for nurses, for teachers, different careers. There are forgiveness programs for those, and typically if they were forgiven, they would have to pay taxes. So that's a huge bonus with this American Rescue Plan. Now, another 1.3 billion that I alluded to before is canceled for about 41,000 borrowers, and that is borrowers who have total and permanent disability. Under the DOE's, Department of Education's Total and Permanent Disability Discharge Program, these borrowers they don't have to pay back the loan, okay, because they're permanently and totally disabled. Also, under the DOE's Total and Permanent Disability Discharge Program, you can still apply if you fall into this category. Maybe you're not totally and permanently disabled, but if you are disabled, you may qualify for this program. Before this, the DOE's Total and Permanent Disability Discharge Program was beefed up to give, to have better forgiveness, for lack of a better term. You would have to prove your earnings. You'd have to prove earnings for 3 years. With this new beefed up program from the Department of Education, you do not have to show proof of earnings. So again, 41,000 borrowers that were totally and permanently disabled. $1.3 billion of their loans have been canceled. If you don't fall into that category of total and permanent disability, if you are disabled, you can apply under this total and permanent disability discharge program, and you may get your loan discharged, and you no longer have to show proof of earnings. And the application will take you through what you need to do and how you can qualify for this program. So again, there are 3 bonuses to the American Rescue Plan. The first is where defrauded borrowers were able to now get their loans forgiven, because the prior administration only forgave part of the loan, and some people didn't even get theirs forgiven. So the Biden administration has made it easier for anybody who falls into that category to easily get their loans forgiven if they were defrauded and if their school closed. The second part of it is having the taxes be not the taxes, the part that's been forgiven, to not have to pay taxes on that. And the third part of it is for those with total and permanent disability to have their loans canceled very easily. And if you are not totally and permanently disabled, you can still apply under this program. And there are about 190,000 borrowers who would fit into this categories. You may qualify, give it a shot, and apply. So now let's talk about what's in the works. What's in the works right now is Congress, members of the progressive members of the Democratic Party, is pressuring President Biden to forgive up to $50,000 in student loans for students, because they're saying students who are minorities, people of color, who are the ones who typically, because of racism and economic disparities, we are typically the ones who have to borrow a lot more money, because our parents are the ones who were the cleaners of the hotels, or the cleaners of the houses, and the ones who had the low-paying job. So they don't have the capital to help us to go to school. So typically, we're the ones that fall into this category and having to borrow more money. So they are pressuring him to forgive up to $50,000 in student loans. He has said he will do, with the stroke of a pen, forgive up to $10,000. He is not willing to do $50,000 without having further research done to make sure that it's within his power to do that. So what he's done, what President Biden has done, is he has asked the Department of Education to research what kinds of legal challenges would be if he could cancel student loans unilaterally without Congress's approval, without Congress's authorization. Whether or not that's in his constitutional right as the president to, with the stroke of a pen, forgive this loan. He's saying if he forgives $50,000, that's going to be people who go to prestigious colleges like Harvard and all of those and all of that, and the contingent from the Democratic Party that's pushing this, and there are other groups also that are pushing for this. They're saying that's not true. Poppycock, that's not true, because a lot of students who are going to these prestigious schools are people of color, minorities, and they have to borrow so much more because they don't have the financial backings from family members and from historically having family members who can afford to support them. So they're pushing. So he has asked, in order to not get in trouble constitutionally, he has asked the Department of Education to research to make sure that there won't be any legal challenges. Well, you can be sure there will be legal challenges, but he wants to make sure that if there are legal challenges, that he can stand on his decision to, with the stroke of a pen, forgive these loans. Now, another thing that this group is asking for is to remove the default status from eligible student loan borrowers. Right now, even though student loans are in pause, there were people who were in default status prior to this. And so they're asking to remove that default status because once the student loan payment pause is lifted, these people are in danger of having their income, their wage garnished, having their tax refunds taken, having their SSI benefits taken. They're in danger of having that done once the payment pause is lifted in September. So they're asking President Biden to remove the default status from these people so that they don't fall into these categories of having their wage garnished, etc. The Department of Education is currently researching, and there's expectation that they're going to come back in a few weeks with their findings as to whether or not it's in his constitutional right to forgive these student loans unilaterally, just with the stroke of a pen, without having to go through Congress. Now, I want to share with you a chart of the number of student loan borrowers, federal student loan borrowers right now, and if a certain amount would be forgiven, how many people that would impact. I want to share that chart with you. And then I also want to share some things to look for possible indicators that a online school is trying to defraud you. So let's look at the first chart that I want to show. And that is the one that shows how many borrowers will be impacted by student loan forgiveness. Right now, there are over 45 million, I rounded up, 45 million federal student loan borrowers. There are over 15 million borrowers that have student loans of 10,000 or less. If a plan were to go in place to have student loans up to the tune of 10,000 be forgiven, this would impact up to 15,000 borrowers. If student loans were forgiven for up to 20,000, this would impact 24,000 borrowers. And again, what these numbers represent are total wipe out of loans. So, for example, if 20,000 were to be forgiven, if you had loans of 30,000, you would not be in this 24 million borrower, meaning that these 24 million borrowers only have loans of 20,000 or less. So if 20,000 were forgiven, 24 million borrowers would have their loans totally forgiven. And so on. $30,000 in loan, 30 million borrowers would qualify. $40,000 in student loans, $34 million would have their debt completely wiped out. 50,000, that would impact 36 million borrowers. So if you have, say, 60,000, you would not be in any of these numbers because your loan would not be totally forgiven. These numbers represent people whose loan would be totally forgiven and would not have any balances that they would have to worry about. Now, let me talk about the warning signs for look for online schools, because not all online schools are created equal. One of the first signs you want to look for is if you would have issues with transferring credits. If you are considering, for example, going to a different school, call them and ask them, I would want to transfer from school. Let's say we're going to call this school ABC. School ABC is a school that you are considering going to. And you're going to want to transfer to, say, Georgia State. Call Georgia State and check with them, would you accept credits from ABC? If they don't, call a few other creditable schools. And if they don't accept credits, you might want to second guess attending that school, because that tells me the credits are no good and you can't transfer them anywhere. So you'd have wasted your money. If the school promised you a dream job, promised you large percentage of hires come from that school, you might want to think twice, because no school can promise you, if you come to their school, that you're going to get a job. Even if it's Harvard, you are not guaranteed a job. There are people who have gone to Harvard who are walking around without jobs. So if a school is promising you that if you attend, you are going to get a dream job, you might want to think twice about attending that school. Lens of the degree program. If a typical degree is a year, 2 years, and this school is promising you that you can get this degree within months or weeks, it sounds good. It sounds great, especially for us working parents. It would sound great, but it may not be the greatest thing because you may have wasted your money, because if they are promising you a degree in such a short period of time, it's more than likely it's a scam. You're going to graduate with all that student loan and you're not going to be able to get the job you want in your field. You're not going to be able to transfer to another university. Let's say, for example, you want to continue with a master's or a PhD. You won't be able to do that because the program is not it would not satisfy based on the type of degree. And that leads to no accreditation. If they have no accreditation, typically when we go to a school, we don't check if they have accreditation because we assume they are accredited. And a lot of times that's not the case. So you want to make sure you're checking for accreditation, especially in these days of pop-up online schools. You want to check to make sure that they are accredited. Another thing to look for is if they don't have edu behind their name, if the school is abc.com, you might want to run away. They need to have edu, which means they have gone through the process and the Department of Education recognizes them as a valid school. If you are required to pay large upfront sums, that is another red flag. You want to run away from the school because you should not have to pay any upfront fees to attend any school. Okay, so hopefully this has been helpful. I will check the chat to see if there are any questions on any of this. And while I'm checking the chat to see if there are any questions, if you have not subscribed, if you're seeing a red button where it says subscribe, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Let somebody know that we're talking about money here at this channel every Sunday afternoon and other times. We're talking about money and we're sharing tips and tools that's going to help you with financial freedom. And I also have guests sometimes where we'll come on and share their expertise with us and further educate us, because we want to ensure that when we spend our hard-earned money, it is spent well and it is spent with people who are not trying to get our money at our expense. So let me go ahead and check the comments right now. And Beverly Harper is saying hi, and so is Asian American Legal Focus. Let me see what she's saying. Yes, excellent advice. People need to read all the bad reviews online. Good reviews could be fake. Yes, you have to read through the fine print, because they could have people that they pay to put reviews online to make it seem like they are really great. That's one of the reasons why, even though I ask for reviews from people who have service, I'm a little bit skeptical, because I do know that people will pay for good reviews. And so I prefer to have referral for my business rather than the online reviews, because referral tells me that somebody is saying I did a good job and they're referring me to somebody else because I've done a good job. Reviews, yeah, I could take them or leave them. And let me see what she's also saying here. Asian American Legal Focus, or the school is teaching you something you can learn for a fraction of the cost at your local community college. Yes, I mean, there are people out there who are set on defrauding you. And you have to really pay attention, especially in this climate where people have lost jobs. People are finding ways to try to make money at your expense. And so you have to be really, really wise. And Asian American Legal Focus is also saying very low graduation rate, or they don't even disclose what percentage of enrolled students finish the program. If they don't, that's really a warning flag also. You have to pay attention. And again, the reason for all of these student loan forgiveness, the reason I'm bringing this up is because the reason for a lot of these student loan forgiveness program is because of students being defrauded by these schools. They made all these grandiose promises. You know, ITT Tech. I mean, they would have people showing ads on TV showing, making it seem like you just have to come to their school and you're pretty much guaranteed a job. And because of those kinds of schools, we now have these programs with students who are gullible, especially students from overseas who don't understand the system. They don't understand the American educational system. And they see these ads, they see these promises, and they think this is a way out for me and my family. This is a way for my family to make money. And they are making money off these poor students who are struggling. Parents are struggling, and then when they graduate, they have nothing. They can't get a job. They've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, can't get a job, and they can't transfer the degree anywhere. So that's one of the reasons why I want to show this. I want you to be vigilant, and I want you to pay attention. And again, I have several student loan videos that I'm going to tag in a playlist that you can look at that will help you to really pay attention to what's going on. And as things go through Congress, or whatever the results of the investigation that President Biden has asked the Department of Education to conduct, and as I get any result from that, I will share that here. And Andrea, thank you so much for joining us. I'm glad you were able to catch the lines this time. Yes, there are so many of us that wish we knew what we know, but that's why I'm so passionate about this, because when I came to this country, I didn't know anything about student loans and how it worked. And I just thought if I got my doctorate and, I would be able to make my money back and pay my student loans off. Of course, it don't work like that. I didn't know that. So that's why I'm passionate about sharing what I know and what I've learned about student loans and other personal finance topics. And for those of you who are interested in legal things in a fun and engaging way, please go follow Asian American Legal Focus. She shares legal things in a fun way. She shares things in a way that's engaging, and you can learn some things about the law. And she's going to have a live stream at 8 p.m. Eastern time today, so you might want to jump over there. She's going to also interview a a federal attorney, I think it is, a federal attorney, and she's also saying here, I've tried to defend people in over their heads with debt from predatory school, but it's always a lost cause. Also, parents need to be very careful about co-signing for their children's loans. I already told my daughter I am not co-signing any student loans. I can't borrow for retirement. You can borrow for student loans. But then again, I gave you every opportunity to do well and to apply for scholarships. So, you're on your own, boo. You're on your own. So thank you so much for joining me this afternoon to share some points about student loans, what President Biden has done, what's being considered, and then also some things to look for fraudulent schools that you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose your money. Yes, and she's saying tonight's show will feature 2 other lawyers on YouTube and how to get a federal job. So if you are out of job and you're considering that, you might want to go follow Asian American Legal Focus. That's 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. And she's also going to be discussing diversity in the legal profession. So thanks, everyone. And of course, Beverly is also always here. Beverly, I'm wearing one of my earrings that you gave me for my birthday. She said, I didn't co-sign for my daughter's loan either. Yes, I'm not co-signing for any loan for anybody, for anything. Okay. But thank you guys so much for joining me, and I hope you learned something today. Again, I'm going to be linking the student loan. I can't talk today. Oh my gosh. I'm going to be linking the student loan playlist that has some other videos that I've done on about maybe 5 or 6 videos on student loans. I'm going to be linking that to this once YouTube releases the live stream, and you should be able to take a look at it and learn some more about some of the student loan forgiveness programs, some of the payment programs that you can go into. And I hope that's helpful. As usual, if you have any questions, please drop them in a comment, or you can send me an email. You can send me an email go to sevtalksmoney.com and you can see my contact form there, or you can send me an email at severin@sevtalksmoney.com. Again, that's severin@sevtalksmoney.com. Send me an email with your questions, and I will either answer in the chat so that everybody can see it, or I will do another live stream and cover that topic. Thank you so much. I appreciate every one of you who take the time every Sunday afternoon to listen to this program. Again, please share and let YouTube know that there is engagement at this channel. Have a wonderful and blessed Sunday afternoon.